Demar Derozan was just traded to the Sacramento Kings, and I honestly like the trade a lot. I think it's a good idea for the Kings, and I think it'll end up being a net positive. And all they had to give up was Harrison Barnes and Chris Duarte, and I think a couple second-round picks, whatever. This isn't a trade that's, blockbustering. It's going to shake up the whole league. They're now contenders. With the Western Conference, there's so many teams that are so good that it would take a lot for them to be at the point for them to be looked at as the favorites to win out West, because there's just so many good teams out there. But based on where they were yesterday and to today, I think they're a lot better. I like the idea of adding another clutch player and another dynamic scorer to the Kings. And I think, if for me being a Cavs fan, if it's a close game with 2 minutes left and De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan are both on the floor at the same time, I would be sweating. Those are two of the clutchest players in the league. And when it comes to those clutch situations, I'm interested to see how they will share the ball and stuff. But that's obviously something for their coach to figure out. But yeah, all they had to do was give up Harrison Barnes and Chris Duarte, and I believe that's probably a net positive. They don't need to go out and do this whole massive, thing. I think that they've definitely put themselves a little bit over the edge. 2021, 2022, they were a crazy surprise. They made it to the NBA playoffs for the first time in 16 or so years, and then they played against Stephen Curry, and in Game 7, Stephen Curry sadly had to, send them home. But, they had a great story, and then last year they beat the Warriors in the play-in, but they ended up losing in the play-in as well. So, definitely a down year, and the Kings fan base is one of the most loyal fan bases, obviously, and I think that this will be good for them, because I also believe that this will become a overall net positive trade in the long run. And I think that, coming off of a mediocre team like the Chicago Bulls, I think that this will be good for DeMar DeRozan, because, I hope it doesn't become a mediocre team, because, whenever he got sent to the Bulls, people were hyping up the Chicago Bulls like crazy, thinking they were going to be, contenders and, one of the best teams in the league. And obviously, we know how that story ended off. But I think that the Kings could actually do something really good with this, and as long as they keep shooters around, because, De'Aaron Fox is a pretty good shooter, but we know DeMar DeRozan isn't much of a three-point shooter, and Domantis Sabonis can sometimes shoot, but he's just more of an overall playmaker, facilitator. So I think keeping players like Kevin Huerter will be important. It makes sense that they got rid of Harrison Barnes and stuff like that, because obviously he is older, and I think him going to the San Antonio Spurs will be good for the wings like Devin Vassell and all those younger players there, as it's a veteran presence. I've been really liking what the Spurs have been doing with bringing in Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes as veteran leaders, and I think the Spurs are definitely on a trend upwards, obviously with Victor Wembanyama, but even with the younger players surrounding him, I think they can get a lot of benefit from these veterans coming in. And on the Chicago Bulls side, it kind of sucks that the experiment did fail, but it's good to see that, people were speculating. Well, I think after they got rid of Alex Caruso, it was kind of the first step, I guess you could say, to the rebuild. But now I can kind of see that they're probably going full in for a rebuild. And it sucks that they weren't able to get much value back for DeMar DeRozan. They only got 2 seconds. And, I will say getting 2 seconds in a player for a sign and trade is pretty good. So, they kind of lucked out on that part. But I feel like if they traded him when he should have been traded, probably at the trade deadline or something like that, he would have been, they would have gotten a lot more back in terms of first-round picks and stuff. But they've always been kind of weird with managing assets, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, I think so. They're probably going now into a full rebuild. We'll see what happens later on with Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. Hopefully they can trade them to get more picks and stuff. But, I feel like it's much better to be in a rebuilding phase than just to stay mediocre, because we all know if they were to run it back, the same team next year, they're going to be the 10th seed, or, they weren't going to make much noise at all. They've had a couple, nice moments and stuff. They got a couple good young players, but other than that, they weren't really going to do a whole lot. So I think this is a positive for pretty much all parties involved, pretty much. I think Demar Derozan is probably going to be a lot happier in Sacramento with the fans. And again, it's not a trade that blows other teams out the water, but it definitely helps them out a little bit. And, it doesn't always come down to being the best team in the league. You don't need to have all the best players. Sometimes it just takes being healthy, which DeMar DeRozan has tended to be a lot healthier over time. Although he is like 34, I don't see his style of play regressing a whole lot. I think he still has some, 30-point games still in him, averaging around 20 points. I feel like he could still be that productive. We'll see how the mesh with De'Aaron Fox and him and Sabonis are. But, it's not going to be crazy good spacing, but, I think it might be a better fit than how it was in Chicago for sure. So, yeah, overall, good trade for the Kings. I think this puts them, has them competing a little bit more. Good idea for the Chicago Bulls rebuilding, and good idea for the Spurs to bring in some more veteran presence. I'm not sure how much Harrison Barnes will be playing or not, but we'll see. And we'll see what Chris Duarte can do in Chicago. But yeah, overall, a good trade on all sides, and it was definitely a surprising one to see. So yeah, comment down below what you guys think of this trade, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy. If you did, please remember to drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.